What is going on, y'all? Gamersgoon here today with a 3-round mock draft video. We might shorten up right before, maybe on Wednesday night, just a first round to kind of prepare you. After night 1 of the draft, we will be doing a second and third round mock, and then possibly on Friday night, we will be getting a rest of the draft mock. But I wanted to do 3 rounds because I think it's a deep enough class and there's enough to talk about for quite a while in this class that we can go ahead and do a full 3-round mock. Now, today's video is going to be the 3-round mock. I will be having a video out tomorrow for the Bears, some potential candidates to watch in terms of positions going forward in this draft, what to watch for the Bears specifically. But let's get into it. The worst kept secret in all of the draft, Fernando Mendoza will be joining the Raiders unless there is some big trade that pushes the Raiders out of number 1. I don't know how they would trade number 1. Say the Jets really were all in on Fernando Mendoza and wanted to trade up, possibly, maybe, I don't know. That's the only way Fernando Mendoza doesn't go to the Raiders. He's going number 1 though. The Jets, the Jets, Jets. I think pretty much it's been consensus now. Arvell Reese seems to be the guy here. Might run edge, might run linebacker, kind of a do-it-all kind of guy. Uh, there for your front 7. I think Arvell Reese will end up being the pick here. Now I am going to set myself a rule. We can trade down, but we're only going to trade down with teams interested. And if these are the teams calling the Cardinals, we ain't interested. I think it's kind of tricky, right? You did just get Algier. Now, granted, Algier is not necessarily a superstar, but he can be a potential 1A, 1B type guy. We saw it at times on the Falcons, him able to step up when Bijan needed a rest. They have Trey Benson there. They have James Conner there. Just not a great running back room, but a lot of guys that are really good 1B options. Jeremiah Love potentially could be the pick. A lot of potential there to be a franchise running back. I don't know with all the running back talent that the Cardinals have. They don't have necessarily that elite talent, but they do have solid running backs, good running backs. I just don't see them going for Jeremiah Love here. Sonny Styles is interesting also. I think he's a guy that obviously super kind of versatile in what he can do. Can contribute obviously as a run stuffer at the linebacker position. I think he's got a lot of upside in the pass game as well defensively. A very interesting option, and we could see him go off the board here. I don't really think David Bailey or Ruben Bain are in play here for this pick. But I am looking at Francis Mauigoa as being the guy here. I know it's a little bit higher than the PFF projections have him at 7, right? But somebody always goes higher, and I think he is the first offensive lineman off the board. Might be able to kick inside in the future. You probably, if I had to guess, will play him at tackle. And for a team that isn't really that great of an offensive line, you're going to have Jacoby Brissett this year. You might be able to take a gamble later on in the draft, whether that's a Nussmeier, maybe that's Simpson in the second round, maybe it's a Drew Aller, somebody like that, to go get a developmental QB. Just with the options here, I think you really got to invest in the offensive line. And if you are going to potentially go the developmental QB route with the bridge quarterback of Jacoby Brissett, you need to kind of start setting those pieces in place. And I think, obviously, the interior defensive line class is nothing impressive. The edge rusher class, once again, I think that's another deep class that you don't really need to really worry about David Bailey, Ruben Bain here. I just think Francis Mauigoa kind of provides the best value here for the Cardinals if nobody wants to trade up, but that is a possible trade down spot. The Browns want to trade up, which is interesting. The Commanders want to trade up is even more interesting because I'm looking at the Titans as the Jeremiah Love spot. I am looking at the Giants as a wild card spot there for Jeremiah Love. Does a team like the Commanders, who were probably a little less than impressed with the year JCM had, move up? Maybe they do. The Browns, I don't see a reason for them to move up. I think they'll probably go the receiver route or maybe a tackle. Monroe Freeling I really like to the Browns, especially with this receiver class being pretty solid later on. So I don't know that that's really a move we were willing to make. And then we're getting down to picks that just we're not trading that far down for the Titans. I think we'll stick and pick here. Won't see any early movement. Jeremiah Love goes to the Titans. Then the Giants, they picked up this pick by trading Dexter Lawrence. You could see them potentially here with 37 go with an interior defensive lineman. They won't be doing it here though. This team, I think you see them kind of make this big trade. So they get a top 10 pick. They can kind of get one of their luxury picks, which my whole time has been like receiver to them isn't a huge need, but I mean, yes, it is a need, right? Like, you don't, obviously, you lost Wan'Dale Robinson. Darius Slayton's not that great. Malik Neighbors coming off injury. It is a need. But when you have a guy like Malik Neighbors, you don't necessarily need or want to draft a receiver in the top 5. So I think this here is kind of where they can play the safer pick here and go Sonny Styles. Really good player. Going to be the linebacker of the future there. And then later on with pick 10, they'll be able to identify one of those receivers to kind of get that luxury pick there by trading Dexter Lawrence there. The Browns, now they're up. And I really like Monroe Freeling here. I really do. The Rams are interesting because I think the Rams would really like Monroe Freeling also. Um, I don't, because I'm looking right, like they're not going to draft a QB. They have Shedeur. Yes, Shedeur wasn't great, but they're not drafting a QB. This could be a Spencer Fano. I don't think this is going to be a Carnell Tate, especially since they have pick 24 and it is a solid receiver class, right? So even if you do have a receiver run in this year's class, I think you do get to a Casey Concepcion, a Denzel Boston. Chris Bell is kind of interesting, coming off injury, could be interesting. In worst case scenario, at 39, you might have to reach a little bit and get a guy like a Bryce Lance, Skylar Bell, Zachary Branch. Um, this morning had some news come out about him that might affect his draft stock. But with this pick, I think I'm going to just safely pick Monroe Freeling. Take the big, high upside offensive lineman, the beast of a man. I think he's 6'7", just absolutely flying up boards, and he continues to do such here in this mock draft. Commanders, I think, would have been a sneaky Jeremiah Love spot. Well, he is not there, and I think with him not being there, this isn't necessarily a team that I think has a consensus, right? You have Ruben Bain sitting there. You really like him. David Bailey sitting there. You really like him, right? You kind of have Ruben Bain, the smaller arms, but really elite pass rusher. David Bailey, kind of maybe not as great of a run defense player, but super high upside there as well, getting big time sack numbers. Carnell Tate sitting there too. This is a team that I don't know if Deebo Samuel's back. Terry McLaurin. This is a receiver draft. You don't get another pick till 71. That's tough, right? Because when you get to 71, you're probably looking at Antonio Williams. Elijah Surratt wouldn't be a bad pick. Then you get into like the Malachi Fields. Malachi Hood plays for the Illini, or at least used to. Don't think he still does. Deshaun Stribling, somebody I like. But yeah, the Commanders, I think here you just take BPA. Could be David Bailey on their boards. I'm going to go Ruben Bain. We're going to have David Bailey slide a little bit. And if David Bailey does slide, the Saints, yes, Carnell Tate's sitting there. I don't think that's really the wisest of their picks. I think they do go David Bailey here. I don't know if they're bringing Cameron Jordan back either, so they do end up taking David Bailey there. So Ruben Bain and David Bailey go off right before the Chiefs. The Chiefs, you're like, well, we need some edge rushers. We're not really sold on Akeem Mesidor at 9. We could maybe go Mansour Delane. Caleb Downs is interesting, right? If a team like the Ravens wanted to make a trade, do you do it? Right? Because you're looking at kind of an interesting lineup here coming up here with the Ravens. The Ravens could trade up and get their first receiver. They could trade up and get Olavega Oleane because I don't know if he makes it to pick 14. I'm going to have the Ravens trade up. I don't mind this here. I think we're going to try this. Okay. Okay, we move up 5 spots. We get a second. There we go. And the Ravens are moving up, and they're going to be taking Carnell Tate to add there with Zay Flowers. Don't know how realistic it is. It's happening here with who traded up, who had the opportunity to trade up. It got accepted. We aren't going to ask questions. Carnell Tate is the pick there. That's who they're moving up for. The Giants, they just got leapfrogged. Carnell Tate would have been an ideal situation. Sonny Styles already picked for them. You could go Caleb Downs, just continue to boost the defense. Ovega Oleane, another really good pick here, in my opinion. You got to get guys to block for, obviously, Jackson Dart. I don't know if Makai Lemon, I'm not really feeling him this high. I'm going to go with Caleb Downs here. Go get a really load up here with the superstar talent out of Ohio State. You can worry about the receivers here in the second round. You have picks, like I said. Jeremy Bernard's not a bad second option. Chris Brazzell is an interesting piece. Skylar Bell, I think, could probably be a receiver 2, receiver 3 in the league. Bryce Lance, high upside swing there. Just a lot of guys that I think could possibly be there. So we're okay taking Caleb Downs there. So the Giants walk out with Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs at this point. Dolphins, they should be very, very interested here now. Receivers, very big need for them. They kind of got 2 picks here in the range where I think you're going to see some of these guys, the KC Concepcions, the Denzel Bostons, Jeremy Bernards, Skylar Bell even. I think you have a few of those picks in that range that you don't feel the need to go Makai Lemon here. You don't really want to risk the injuries with Jordan Tyson. Mansour Delane sitting there, that's an interesting one. I think you do invest in the offense heavily this year with Malik Willis being your quarterback. We're going to have Vega Oleane go here at 11. I think this is probably the highest I've had him go, but it's mock draft season. We're in the thick of it. We're throwing him here at 11. The Dallas Cowboys, now on the clock. They do have a few picks here in this upcoming mock draft. We're not trading with the Chiefs. I do not want to trade with the Chiefs. Absolutely not. And I think this is actually a good board for them because Mansour Delane's here. And if they do have Jermod McCoy's medical checking out, he is also probably DB1 in this class. But I can't predict whether or not medicals will check out or not. Mansour Delane's does. We'll go Mansour Delane here. The Rams, they're another team here. Get a few picks out of them. Like I said, I think they would be big on Monroe Freeling if he made it. Well, another guy makes it to their spot here in Spencer Fano, which I think he kind of, the Utah team wasn't as great as you'd hoped, but I think you still got really good tackles there with him, and then Caleb Lomu as well. The Chiefs, now, you had the Chiefs right there. Traded down. They were like, well, we're not in love with Carnell Tate. We can get an extra second here. Well, you know why? Because we're going to take Makai Lemon. Now, you might be looking at me like, it's a good receiver class. You can go Jermod McCoy here. You might even go like an Avion Terrell here. Well, they're going Makai Lemon. The Buccaneers, now with the way the board has fallen for the Buccaneers, I think this is a really interesting spot for Akeem Mesidor. I think this is a team willing to compete right now. You look at obviously Baker Mayfield. I think Mike Evans is still around. Is he? Did he resign, or am I making up like in my head that Mike Evans went elsewhere? Oh yeah, he went to the 49ers. So it's just Godwin, Emeka Egbuka. You probably don't go receiver. Kenyon Sadiq being there is really interesting. Sadiq's just a really good player. But I really like the fit Akeem Mesidor there in Tampa. I'm going to go Akeem Mesidor here. The Jets. Arvell Reese was the pick last time around. I think you do see them go corner. I think they might be a little scared off by the Jermont McCoy injuries. They take Avion Terrell here. Um, Solid corner there out of Clemson. The Lions, now they're on the clock. They have to go offensive lineman. They're desperate for a left tackle right now. Blake Miller, probably not the guy for you, but Caden Proctor, I think, would be. Then you're kind of getting into, do you want a guy that's a developmental that you might be able to flip with Ian Ashore, or do you maybe want to take a gamble with Caleb Lomu later down the board? But with who's on the board, I think right now we're pretty comfortable taking Caden Proctor. I think teams are going to have a wide variety on where they have Caden Proctor ranked. I like him, but there's been some concern about where he will be playing at what weight and kind of what to expect out of him going forward. The Vikings, this is a really good landing spot here for, in my opinion, Dylan Thieneman. But also Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, I won't be shocked if he goes before DT. DT flew up draft boards, obviously, really good run stuffer, quarterback of the defense type guy. But if you're looking for the big time, like, turnover machine, that's Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. And I think the Vikings could be looking for that. Peanut Punch, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, there he goes there. So we're starting to see some of these guys go up a little bit out of their range. The two Oregon fellows have slid down the board a little bit. The Panthers, sitting here is interesting. The Bills, do they have a reason to trade up? What would the Bills be trading up for? You know what? I'm just going to go with my gut here. Kenyon Sadiq to the Panthers. The Cowboys, they took Mansour Delane last time. I think you see them continue to just make smart picks, and this is going to be a bad pick according to PFF. But I think Jacob Rodriguez can slide into that first round. I don't think that there's enough top guys that are locks for the first round. I think Jacob Rodriguez is better than CJ Allen, so we're going to go Jacob Rodriguez here in this pick. They'll have an up close personal view with him, so you're really starting to see them really commit to the defense there. Also, Jacob Rodriguez, I think, is just a little bit more valuable than the defensive tackles, which are kind of dart throws here at this point. The Steelers, they have an interesting set here of options. Caleb Lomu, Blake Miller, Ian Achor. I think Blake Miller probably the consensus next guy up. We're going to go Blake Miller. The Chargers, another interesting spot. Dylan Thieneman is there. Makes things real interesting. Because if he wasn't there, I'd probably just take Caden McDonald. I don't really see the Chargers trading down here. But a team like the Bears could be looking at Dylan Thieneman and maybe do something along the lines of, we'll give you pick 60 and for pick 86. We'll offer that and see what the Bears do. All right. Now my Chicago Bears, now up. They are trading up for Dylan Thieneman. Trade a second for a third. Able to get Dylan Thieneman, who we weren't sure was going to make it, especially with teams like the Eagles coming up. Now the Eagles, they have a history of just drafting injured players or guys with that slide in the draft for whatever reason. Jordan Tyson's there. He is the pick for the Eagles. The Browns, I think, would be punching themselves right now because I think Jordan Tyson would make a lot of sense for them at 24. Monroe Freeling was the gamble pick. Well, guess what? They're still sticking to their idea with receiver. Omar Cooper comes off the board. The Chargers now, they just watched their guy, Dylan Thieneman, get picked. They traded him away, basically. That's okay because their backup option was Caden McDonald. Stuff to run there for the defensive line. The Bills get interesting again. I think this is a sneaky spot to see Caleb Banks slide into the first round. There's a foot injury there that's really concerning. Just if you look at kind of the measurables of him and kind of what he could project to be, Caleb Banks seems like he could be a really good player. But there is a looming foot injury that could push him down boards. I'm going to say it checks out with the Bills. They take him. The 49ers, I love this fit, in my opinion. They do need to figure out the long-term offensive lineman situation. I think the 49ers are great at developing offensive linemen. You just go get that big guy out of Arizona State. Maxey, I'm not sure. The Texans now on the clock, and I think there's a few different ways they can go. They do pick at 38, and at 38, I think you're kind of looking at, do we think Prenion or Bisonius are getting to us? And then at 38, you're also looking at, do we think maybe Lee Hunter, Christian Miller, Peter Woods are getting to us? I don't know that there's a guaranteed answer. All five of those guys could be gone at that point. I think the offensive line is a bigger need. We are going to go Emmanuel Prenion here with pick 28. The Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock. They took Mekhi Lemon. That's okay. We were considering Jermod McCoy. He slid all the way down to 29. There is a concerning injury there. Will he return back? We say he will. Jermod McCoy, first-round talent. We get the Miami Dolphins. They went Olavega Owane. Another team thought could be interested in corner. Well, guess what? There's one other corner in the first round that I like, and that is Colton Hood. So we see back-to-back Tennessee corners going. And then we get to the Patriots, yet another team I think just desperate for offensive line help. Caleb Lomu, I don't necessarily think is an immediate fix to their issues, right? They really struggled in pass protection in the Super Bowl. The Seahawks kind of just ate them up. Caleb Lomu at times showed kind of a lack of strength and power in that aspect. But I think you're just going to take the swing here at Caleb Lomu being the best offensive lineman back on the board right now. Then we get to the Seahawks. This is a popular Jadarian Price spot, just so we're clear. I don't think you get that. I think you do see them possibly look here at this edge class, see some guys sliding. Keldrick Folk, really interesting prospect, right? At 6'6", it's definitely has the makeup to be an elite level pass rusher. You didn't see those numbers last year. You did see him the year prior. Can you hit that? I think you can. With a really good defense around him in Seattle. So Keldrick Folk will be the selection there. Jets, guess what? We waited for the QB run. Here we go. Ty Simpson is going to be the pick here. The Jets, just not. Who's their starting QB going to be? Geno Smith and Brady Cook. That's real exciting. They're getting Ty Simpson here to start the second round. Arizona Cardinals now on the clock as well. They were a team looking at Ty Simpson's services. They could not secure him. Francis Mauigoa was their first round pick. I think you really just see them start to load up on talented players here in the trenches. I have them taking, I think I'm going to have them take Peter Woods here, right? You already took an offensive lineman in the trenches. Now you're going to go defensive lineman in the trenches. I really like Peter Woods. We'll have him go here, there to the Cardinals. The Titans, they took Jeremiah Love last time around. Team that I think has a lot of needs. The Bengals aren't going to trade up. The Dolphins are interesting, right? Because the Dolphins do have some ammunition here. So I'm going to try to make a deal with the Dolphins. Can we get that to go through? Can we get that to go through? All right. So we get pick 87 and pick 43 to move up 8 spots for the Dolphins. The Dolphins did that because, well, we went Colton Hood, went Vega Owane. We need a receiver. We don't want to wait till the next crop of them. We're trading up for KC Concepcion to come off the board. The Raiders, now they are an interesting one as well. Could use receiver help, could use tackle help, could use a defensive help. I think you see them really invest in their offensive line. Guess what? It's not a great offensive line class. Bisogna is probably the next one off the board. Jennings Dunker, Caleb Tiernan. You might be starting to get into their range. I still feel like it's a little too early. The Raiders, You could go receiver here with Denzel Boston. It's not a guy that I particularly love, but he does have some potential receiver traits. We're gonna go Denzel Boston here. When we get to the Giants, they went Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs. Do they do the trio and find another Ohio State player? I don't even know who the next one projected to be is. I don't think they're taking Davison Igbinosun. I don't think that will happen. But I think you could see them go receiver, right? We talked about it already, them possibly going receiver. I really like Jeremy Bernard as a number 2, which obviously he would be with Malik Neighbors being there. I think he'd probably be better than Darius Slayton. Maybe not initially, but long term, I think he can get there. I'm going to take Jeremy Bernard here to the Giants. A little bit earlier than projected, but that's the NFL draft for you. The Texans, they took Emmanuel Prignon. They weren't confident that the offensive lineman would be here. Well, guess what? Bistonius did make it. Prignon might not have. But we're going to go defensive tackle here, Christian Miller, who I think kind of does a lot of things really well. I don't know that he necessarily has one elite trait, though. The Browns, they've gone offense. Well, why don't we do it again? We're going Chase Bistonius. We're going to take the last kind of consensus second-round guard off the board. Then we're getting into the Keelan Rutledges, who I think will probably go second round. Jalen Farmer might slide late for a second round, not first round, geez. You might start seeing some of those guys get pushed up the board a little bit, just kind of the lack of them. The Chiefs, they've had a really solid draft. Kyle Lemon, Jermod McCoy. I think, obviously, Ed was a big concern going into the draft. They get a chance here to take a swing at a few different guys. The Chiefs, I think they'd really like Zion Young. He's not playing too far away from Kansas City, being in Missouri anyways. We're going to go Zion Young here to the Chiefs. Cassius Howe sliding a little bit. TJ Parker, who I like for the Bears, possibly at 25. Still sitting here at 41. That's kind of what this middle of the class is. That just kind of hard to find separation in the middle. Defensive tackle, no longer a need for the Bengals. They found their guy with Gervon Dexter, or not Gervon Dexter, he's on the Bears, with Dexter Lawrence. The Bengals offensive line, obviously a concern. Keelan Rutledge, do I think he goes this high? I'm gonna have Keelan Rutledge go this high. I'm gonna believe in my internal theory that there's gonna be a run on these linemen. Keelan Rutledge goes to the Bengals. The Saints now up. David Bailey was the pick. Team could use a lot of help. A lot of help. But you need a team with ammo to move up, and I'm not seeing what I want to see here. If I'm the Saints moving down a few picks, I want like a third round pick, a valuable one. And there's not really too many teams I think that are willing to part with them at this point. The Saints, they're gonna stick and pick. They went David Bailey. They're gonna find their receiver. It's gonna be a gamble because you don't know on the health situation. Do I think Chris Bell makes it? I really want him to be here. I really want to pick Chris Bell here. But part of me thinks, you know what? Something's not going to work out there. I don't know if he's going to go that high. Do you go defensive tackle? That's an option. Linebacker. C.J. Allen sitting there. You know what? I don't hate the idea of C.J. Allen. I'm going to go C.J. Allen here with this pick. I'm going to go C.J. Allen just because I don't want to push Chris Bell in this high with the injury. Skylar Bell's somebody I want to push higher, but I don't know if it's that high. We get to the Titans. They went Jeremiah Love, passed on guys like Ruben Bain, David Bailey. Well, guess what? There's a few guys still sitting here in this range that I think are solid pickups. I like TJ Parker more. Cassius Howe has the short arms, concerning there. I'm going TJ Parker there for the Titans. Now, you have the Jets, Arvell Reese, Avion Terrell, and Ty Simpson. I think you could see them obviously look to gain receivers. They kind of had nobody there for a while. other than Garrett Wilson. You're looking for a number 2 option, a true number 2 option. And I really like Skylar Bell. When he gets the ball in his hands, he just has a certain kind of explosivity to his game that you don't really see out of too many people. We're going to go Skylar Bell there. The Chiefs, yet again, they went Zion Young. They went Jermod McCoy. They went Makai Lemon. They're having a good draft. What else could they use? They do have a need at tackle, right? They could be looking long term and starting to think, what were we going to do at tackle? And I think Caleb Tiernan's the next guy off the board. I'm gonna believe in this tackle run that I'm believing in, and this offensive line run. We had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers kind of go off on a limb there and take Akeem Mesidor. They're valuing winning players at this point, and I think you might see them do it again here with the linebacker. I think Jake Golday goes here. Another guy going a little bit earlier than projected. The Colts, they are an interesting one. Lee Hunter sitting there. I think that's a really good fit for them. Receiver, you still have Alec Pierce, who you just paid. You obviously have Josh Downs. You traded away Adonai Mitchell, but that's for another day. You have Tyler Warren in the pass game. The safeties, I don't love A.J. Holsey at this range. A.J. Holsey will probably go in this range, but I don't like him that much. I think he's probably closer to 60 than he is to 50. We're going to go Lee Hunter here. Very interesting prospect. I think he's a really good, kind of powerful guy. I mean, you've kind of seen that at times with the Colts kind of investing in these guys that are just, they kind of got that country strength to them. And Lee Hunter definitely has that in his game. A more kind of powerful defensive lineman there. Falcons, geez. They need a receiver. Chris Brazzell, I don't think is the kind of receiver you're looking for. Obviously, you have Drake London, kind of your big body guy. Bryce Lance, another guy that's a little bit of a dart throw, but I do like him. Chris Bell, his injury is concerning me, man. I'm going to go Bryce Lance. I trust the speed there. I trust the jump. We're taking Bryce Lance. The Vikings took Emmanuel McNeill-Warren last time around. Now they are going to go find their running back, possibly. Unless there's a defensive tackle. If Lee Hunter was here, I would have took him, but I just don't think. But yeah, I think here you probably see them go ahead and get their running back. Jordan Mason's all right. Don't love him. Jadarian Price, congratulations. You're going to the Vikings. The Lions here, Caden Proctor was their pick last time. This is their last pick for a while. The Packers want to trade up. The Steelers. What are you going to really trade up for? Cassius Howell sitting there. Could a team like the Eagles be interested in moving up, maybe? Who did the Eagles draft? The Eagles drafted Jordan Tyson, right? If the Eagles are interested, I'll let the Eagles move up because they've been kind of known to do this. We'll get another top 100 pick here for the Lions, move down a few picks, and we're going to have the Eagles select Cassius Howell. Slid, obviously, for kind of the arm length concerns, rightfully so. But the Eagles, yet again, get away with highway robbery. Just getting guys that are much more talented than where they are projected, where they actually do go, right? Because you do see these slides, and that's where you really see the Eagles make their money. The Panthers took Kenyon Sadiq last time around. Eli Stowers was a target possibly here, but I think with you going Sadiq, you kind of answered that. I really start to think maybe Grayson Halton in this range could make some sense. You probably think he's more of a guy in round 3. I think you could see the offensive linemen start to go. I like Sam Hecht as the first one off the board. I don't think there's really going to be a tackle here that I'm in love with. I don't love Jennings Dunker here. It's another spot we might trade down. And the Broncos want to move up. What would the Broncos be moving up for? Let's see what the Broncos need. The Broncos need receiver. Well, they did just get Jalen Waddle, so no. Tight end. Don't think you're moving up that high. Linebacker is interesting. If you really like Josiah Trotter, don't think he's going to make it. I don't love a trade up here. I think you're going to see the Panthers stick and pick, which makes me kind of want to go corner. They could use some help there. I really like Chris Johnson. We're going to go Chris Johnson here. The Packers. Now they're up. This is the first time they are picking. I kind of want to do something wild for them because that's what they do. Jalen Farmer. I don't think he's going this high. Where's Lee Hunter? Keontae Scott, yeah. Could definitely use some corner help. That's a good shout, but you're kind of looking at D'Angelo Pons, who's really small, man. Really, really small. Brandon Cisse is interesting. Super speedy. Could be interesting there. Keontae Scott, Keith Abney, guys that are probably potentially nickel corners, safety hybrids. Trayton Stukes, a guy I really like, can possibly play some nickel corner as well. With Brandon Cisse on the board, we're going to take him. But I wouldn't be shocked if it's Trayton Stukes. The Steelers, they went Blake Miller. They swung and missed last year with Caleb Johnson. Doesn't mean that they won't take another shot, but I don't love Mike Washington at this point. The tackles, don't love them. Jennings Dunker, the next guy. I think you probably see him slide into the third round. The interior offensive lineman last time around, we went Blake Miller. I don't think you see them go Jalen Farmer here. This is tough. They picked up Pittman. They have DK. I think you might see them just kind of... What do they need? Let's see what they need. QB is interesting, right, for them. There's not necessarily a for sure QB at this point. You'd be kind of taking a gamble on Nussmeier Aller. Like I said, just not there. The projections have them going nickel corner, so maybe Jamal Dean and Joey Porter. I mean, they could maybe use a nickel, and if they are, D'Angelo Pons sitting there, smaller. Does that make him slide? I don't know. I'm going to have D'Angelo Pons. I like the player, just a real small corner. Then you get to the Lions. The Lions traded down. They took Caden Proctor last time around also. We're going to go to the defensive line here. I'm going to go to the edge rusher group, though. I'm not going to go to the defensive tackle group. R. Mason Thomas sitting there. He's another one that a lot of people like. I feel like fit into this role of being a rotational pass rusher alongside Aiden Hutchinson. We're going to go R. Mason Thomas there. The Chargers now on the clock. They took Caden McDonald last time around. They didn't get their chance at a receiver. Chris Bell is sitting there. I can't have him slide anymore. Too good of a player to be here. There's an injury concern there. Could push him all the way down to the third round, maybe. But we're going to draft him here. The Jaguars now on the clock. Now they are another interesting one. Not a great tight end group. Do you take a gamble on a guy like Eli Stowers? Maybe. I also really like Josiah Trotter here at this spot. I'm going to go Josiah Trotter for the first pick there for the Jaguars of the draft. The Bears, they took Dylan Thieneman. I think you see them continue to go defense. Gabe Yakus on the board. Malachi Lawrence on the board. Derek Moore. Dennis Sutton. All guys I think they'd be interested in. I do think Gabe Yakus, though, is the one that's shown the most growth from year in and year out. We're going to go Gabe Yakus there at 57. San Francisco continues to get these just athletic freaks, these these anomalies of people, and Malachi Lawrence is one of them. Just a freak athlete, shown flashes to be a really good athlete, and contributor. I trust that you can find the 49ers getting the best out of him. Houston Texans, they went Christian Miller and Emmanuel Prignon. Now they kind of get their luxury pick, which is interesting, right? Because you have Woody Marks there, who wasn't necessarily bad last year, but he wasn't great. David Montgomery's there. You still have Joe Mixon? Do you want to go maybe get your running back of the future with a Mike Washington? Possibly. It's not a guarantee, obviously, but possibly. But the center class gonna start to thin out real quick. We're gonna get them to be the first ones to jump on. I like Sam Hecht more than Connor Lew. I'm going Sam Hecht here at 59. Pick 60. The Chargers now back on the clock. They took Chris Bell and Caden McDonald. Like I said, think they have playmakers. Well, they have playmakers now with Chris Bell. Now they might have to wait for him, but they're going to get another playmaker in the secondary with AJ Holsey here. I like him a little bit more in this range. Like I said, I like him closer to 60 than 50, but I think this is yet another guy that can develop there in that Charger system. The Rams went Spencer Fano. Well, I really want to pull the trigger on one of these QBs. I think it's still a little early. Team that could use some receiver help. They pulled the trigger on Spencer Fano. We're going to take Chris Brazzell. Now, the thing about Chris Brazzell, right, is he might not ever be more than a number 3. But you're putting him on a team with Puka and Davante Adams. You're putting him on a team with Puka, right? You might not ever need to be much more than that. You just need to go catch the ball and be a deep ball threat. And as long as Matthew Stafford's there, they'll continue to need deep ball threats. Chris Brazzell, I think, fits in just fine there, at least for the time being. Then we get to the Denver Broncos. They haven't made a pick yet. Eli Stowers is sitting there. Evan Ingram, not coming off a great year whatsoever. You can make a case here maybe for the defensive lineman. Halton here possibly makes some sense. Linebacker, I don't think you really have anybody. Maybe an Anthony Hill at this spot. But I think you see Eli Stowers go here. The Patriots, like I said, they took Caleb Lomu. They needed help in the trenches. They got one. I think they now go to the other side and get yet another. The edge class is still a really good class. They're sitting there. Let's go Derek Moore here. Derek Moore, another guy, got double-digit sacks last season. Projects to be a pretty good pass rusher in the NFL. The Seahawks, they took Keldrick Folk last time around. Jadarian Price has been kind of rumored to be a potential target. Well, he's not there. But the next best thing, Mike Washington, very physical runner and fast runner, available here. We're going to go Mike Washington there to be kind of the guy in Seattle, at least for next year, while you're waiting on Charbonnet to get healthy. The Cardinals, they've taken Peter Woods and Francis Mauigoa. Well, they don't have any picks left. And unless this is a great offer, which it's not going to be, we're going to go ahead and pull the trigger. We're going Garrett Nussmeier here to start the third round. I think you see these quarterbacks go. It's going to be I don't think this is going to be like last year where you start to see just craziness happen at the QB position where we're thinking Shedeur is going to be a first round pick and he's not until a fourth round pick. I don't think you're going to see like Jalen Daniels go super high or Taylon Green go super high or Cade Klubnik go super high or Luke Altmaier, any of those guys. But I think Nussmeier, Aller could go a little bit higher. Beck maybe, but we'll see there. The Titans just still need offensive line help. And I don't know that this is particularly the class for the interior. Could use some center help. We're going to go Connor Lew here to be the center of the future there in Tennessee. The Raiders, they went Denzel Boston and Fernando Mendoza. They're another team. Could use some tackle help. Well, Jennings Nunker is here. According to PFF, this is where he's supposed to be. We're going to take the swing here on Jennings Nunker. The Eagles yet again. Do they do it again? Well, they have their guy with Jordan Tyson. Fell in the draft. Cassius Howe fell in the draft. I think here we're going to go with Keionte Scott and try to play him at safety. I really like Keionte Scott. I think he's a very interesting prospect. I think the Bears could lock in on Keionte Scott as a potential target there to maybe kind of fill in the Kyler Gordon role and push Kyler Gordon to safety or vice versa. But Keionte Scott, a very interesting chess piece there that I think could potentially maybe be a good fit there for the Eagles. The Texans, they have gone heavy on the trenches. This is going to be their first pick where they're going to have a little bit of fun with it. Is it? I don't love Jonah Coleman here to them, right? Because I'm looking at the running back room. It significantly got better. Don't think you go receiver, right? You have Nico Collins. You had a pretty solid class last year. Higgins and Knoll, and then obviously you're waiting on Tank Dell to return. They need trenches help, that's for sure. Do we take another swing on an offensive lineman? Corner could be a big need. Corner. I think I'm going to go corner here. We're going to draft a corner. I really like Trayden Stukes. Big guy, good athlete. It's going to be kind of a little bit of a project. Don't know that he necessarily has the ability to play on the outside right away. But we'll see what Trayden Stukes can do there on the Texans. The Browns now up. They took Monroe Freeling. They took Omar Cooper. They took Chase Besonius. This is still a team I think could maybe go for 2 receivers, right? Because this receiver group is just not very exciting. Do they do a second receiver here? Right? They've drafted their tackle. They've drafted. Then you got guys that are just sliding. Deni Dennis Sutton, Joshua Josephs, Keith Abney. I do like Antonio Williams. I think I like Elijah Surratt more. I want to take Elijah Surratt here. Do they pair both receivers up? You know, in my mock draft, they do. Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper going back together. The Commanders, they took Ruben Bain. Like I said, team that I think could possibly have been looking at Jeremiah Love. Wasn't available. Receiver, another interesting one, right? Could go maybe like a Deion Burks, see if maybe he can fill the Debo role. Don't think he's kind of that guy, but a very interesting chess piece to have. Antonio Williams, another guy I like, obviously. But here, I think with Jonah Coleman being on the board, kind of his ability to do the things that I think you kind of lost when you gave out Brian Robinson playing in sort of pass pro and being the more physical running back and be able to kind of read his blocks rather than kind of just the pure speed and elusivity of JCM. I think you do get back what you gave up, which I don't really know why you gave up. So Jonah Coleman there to the Commanders. Cincinnati Bengals, they took Keelan Rutledge a little bit earlier than expected because, well, it's getting thin. Safeties, don't love them here. Receivers aren't an option here. I do really like Anthony Hill. We're going to go Anthony Hill here. We're really going to load up here on positions that the Bengals need. The Saints, they went David Bailey and C.J. Allen. They need to find a receiver. Antonio Williams is sitting there. We're going to go Antonio Williams. I don't know that I'm even going to consider Zachariah Branch. I might have him slide at the top 100 because he did have the arrest this morning. The Chiefs, they have had a pretty good draft, if you ask me. If Chief fans had this draft, I think you should be pretty happy. Now, Jermon McCoy is kind of your guy, right? But you pretty much lost everything at corner. Trent McDuffie's not there anymore. Um, Christian Fulton, just not a great corner room. Running back, you have K9 there, so that's not a need. We're going to go Keith Abney. We're going to continue to get more secondary players here for the Chiefs to kind of reload in the secondary. The Dolphins, now on the clock, they have selected Olavega Oyane, Colton Hood, and Casey Concepcion. I think here at this point, you just get into you might not necessarily need the positions, right? You look at the Dolphins. You have Chop Robinson, who you thought could be pretty good, but you get another chance here to go get another top edge. Deni Dennis Sutton. I think Deni Dennis Sutton is very underrated in this year's class. Then we get to the Steelers. The Steelers have taken Blake Miller, and D'Angelo Pons. You get a chance here yet again for running back. Don't think you're going this high with a guy like Seth McGowan, maybe Nick Singleton, Katron Allen's names could be potential targets for the Steelers. Don't think it's here. Like I said, I think you do see some of these QBs go a little bit earlier. Drew Aller goes here to the Steelers. Yes, I am aware they took Will Howard. I am aware, yes. They are taking Drew Aller. The Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, another interesting one. I don't think Max Clare here is interesting. Because you're not going to have a guard here that makes much sense. Maybe Jalen Farmer. I think Max Clare, though, kind of fills what you're looking for, right? Kind of more similar to the Cade Otton type. I'm gonna go Max Clare here. He can provide a few different things, right? He doesn't necessarily flash as like this elite receiver or this elite blocker, but he does a lot of those things really well. And it might not always be super like consistent, but he has been pretty solid around the board at all of those things. The Colts, they got kind of the big country strength there of Lee Hunter last time around. Just really powerful dude. Receiver, I still don't think is a huge need for them. And this is kind of interesting, right? Because they do have needs as linebacker and safety. Well, guess what? There's still a linebacker here that can play some safety, and Kyle Lewis. We're going to select Kyle Lewis here with this pick. The Falcons, they took Bryce Lance. The Falcons, man, they're a disaster. They're going to take Davison Igbinosun. Bigger corner, could potentially turn into an outside corner in the NFL. Does at times get penalized, but I think he's all around going to be a pretty solid NFL player. The Ravens, they took Carnell Tate. They made the trade to move up for him. They kind of passed on some of the linemen. That's fine. They're still getting Jalen Farmer here at this point. The Jaguars now on the clock. Now they have a few picks coming up here. Now this is where I think the Jaguars can really start to make their money, right? They took Josiah Trotter, the tight end class, obviously hoping Claire made it. He didn't. I think you might see Sam Roosh be the next kind of target for them. But you do have a few of these defensive tackles that did slide a little bit for whatever reason. Mainly because I forgot that the defensive tackles existed, because I have to find ways to get guys like Deni Dennis Sutton drafted, and I think Anthony Hill would be here, and it's just a really good class in depth-wise that we don't get to talk about all of these guys. But we've already gone the route of the Jaguars drafting Josiah Trotter. I think you could also see them kind of look for some speed on the inside with Grayson Halton there, the smaller of the defensive tackles kind of on the board. The Vikings, they've taken Jadarian Price and Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. They're having a pretty solid draft, right? Peanut punch, and then you're having a guy with barely any miles on him, pretty much consensus running back too in this year's class. And I think here you do have an option to go get your center. Logan Jones or Jake Slaughter. Like selfishly, I don't think this is what they should do. but we've kind of addressed some of their needs. Defensive tackle is an option, right? You could go get a guy like Dominique Orange here at this point. Big dude, right? Very physical. I'm going to go Dominique Orange. I'm talking myself out of it, mostly because I want to try to push one of these centers down to the Bears. The Panthers. I think Kenyon Sadiq and Chris Johnson. Not a bad draft. I don't think it's a stellar draft, but not a bad one. Receiver, I think, definitely in play, right? Because you're kind of looking at a team that's Tetairoa McMillan, Jalen Coker, and then what? Xavier Legette hasn't been super consistent. He's been pretty much as consistent as probably what you could find at this point. Tetairoa McMillan, bigger receiver, right? Jalen Coker, bigger receiver. I'm going to kind of gamble here on the smaller Deion Burks and the speed and his ability to potentially play in the slot and kind of offer some stuff in the return game. I'm going to go here with him. I don't necessarily love Deion Burks as a prospect, but in this fit, I think there's a lot of upside to getting a guy like Deion Burks. The Packers, they should be thinking about adding a receiver, right? They lost Romeo Doubs, right? Christian Watson, Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, who I think got traded. I think Wicks got traded. Could they be looking at a receiver? Possibly. They took Brandon Cisse. They still could need to get some interior offensive line. Just this is not a great depth class for the offensive line. Billy Scrouth, next best guy on the board. We're going to go Billy Scrouth here, sliding his way into the third round. The Steelers now on the clock. They have taken Drew Aller, D'Angelo Pons, Blake Miller. And now we're going to take our gamble here, I think, on the running back. Yes, once again, early, I understand, but I think you see guys go out of these PFF ranges. I think this is one of those interesting classes where pick 70 isn't going to be super crazy from pick 120, right? Like, I think that there's a lot of different ways you can put the boards. I like Seth McGowan, kind of an explosive runner. We're going to have him go there. Potential guy I like the Bears to potentially select. The Bears took DT and Gabe Yakis. Now they get an opportunity to take a center. We are not going to let the best center left on the board go to waste. Jake Slaughter is the selection. The Tennessee Titans are having a pretty solid draft, filling some needs, getting some good, solid players. Still don't love this receiver room, I'm be honest. Look at this receiver room. It does not really wow me. I like Alec Ayamanor. Chimere Dike is fine. Calvin Ridley just wasn't all that great last year. Zachariah Branch obviously has some concerns there. That's popped up recently. Malachi Fields, I think, could be interesting. Bigger body receiver. Hurst is an interesting one as well. I think Malachi Fields is a safer pick, but Ted Hurst is the more kind of boom pick, right? Like, we could really work out here. We've addressed some of our needs. I'm going to go Ted Hurst here. The Jaguars, they've taken Grayson Holton and Josiah Trotter. And I think Sam Roosh here makes a lot of sense to them, right? You weren't overly overwhelmed with how great Brenton Strange played. You're going to find your guy here with Sam Roosh. The Bears, back on the clock yet again. Jake Slaughter, Gabe Yakis, Dylan Thieneman. That's their three biggest needs, right? But I think you still see them look, hey, we need to get some defensive tackle help. We weren't overly impressed with what our defensive tackles did this year. I really like Rayshawn Benny, Darrell Jackson, also another really physical guy. But I really like kind of the upside swing here with Rayshawn Benny. I only have 1 year of production, really. But I think this is a guy that would fit in really well in a Dennis Allen system. So we're going to go Rayshawn Benny here. We get to the Dolphins, who are having a very fun draft. This is a fun draft to me. Now, I'm going to say that about a lot of these teams' drafts this year. When I go to rank these drafts, and rate the rounds or whatever at the end of it, I'm going to give a lot of these teams good grades because I like a lot of these players. But we've gone edge, we've gone receiver, we've got corner, we've gone guard. Wouldn't hurt to double up on receiver here. Zachariah Branch is sitting there. Casey Concepcion was our guy. Zachariah Branch's arrest wasn't anything too crazy. It didn't sound. It was like obstructing the sidewalk or something like that. We're going to go Zachariah Branch here. The Bills, they took Caleb Banks. They took their swing. Now they kind of got to take, in my opinion, probably the safer route for the rest of the draft. Kamari Ramsey sitting there. We're going to go just take a solid player that we kind of know what he's going to be. The Cowboys. Well, the Cowboys I thought could be an interesting edge spot. Well, guess what? We do have some edges that make it here. I really like Romello Height. Now, he is a guy that might not ever just be super elite, but I think he can get you a good 5 or 6 sacks in a season. Better, obviously, pass rusher than he is a run defender, which has at times been kind of a Jerry Jones thing. So maybe you do prefer a guy like Joshua Josephs, which, going to think of it, yeah, Jerry Jones has made a big thing about Micah Parsons not being a great run defender. We're going to go Joshua Josephs here. I do really like Romello Height, though, as it's kind of a dart throw guy that might get you 5 or 6 sacks in a season. The Rams, they've gone Brazel. They've gone Fano. Do they go Carson Beck? No, they don't. They don't. They're going... What else do they need? What does this team need? Receiver group is really bad, but they fixed it. Offensive tackle, definitely. Could be an interesting pickup here. The thing is, you're kind of taking swings at tackles now, which can definitely happen, right? I like Austin Barber down the line. J.C. Davis is an interesting one as well. Then you're really kind of getting into Travis Burke, which I've heard he's flying up some boards. You know what? I'm going to go with Travis Burke here. I've heard he's flying up boards. You're looking for a developmental tackle. He's 6'9", beast of a man. I think he's like 315 pounds, just beast of a guy. Give him a shot. Give him a shot. See what he's got. Dolphins took Zachariah Branch. Having a pretty solid draft all around, if you were to ask me. Now, the Dolphins weren't really that great going into the draft, right? Like, just not much here. However, I think they're starting to get some places, right? Defensive tackle makes some sense here to me. You got one last year, but you can always get another. And Darrell Jackson here, just really physical guy. Continue to add to the trenches and continue to add players that could contribute in year one. The Patriots, they've taken Derek Moore and Caleb Lomu. Once again, team needed some help there. Able to find it. The linebackers at this point, Keyshawn Elliott's the next best thing. I do like Keyshawn Elliott, but do I like him here in the late 3rd round? I guess you can't really not like any of these guys in this range in the late 3rd round. We're gonna go Keyshawn Elliott. We're gonna go ahead and take him, but he's another one that I think kind of is an interesting prospect there as well. The Seahawks now back. They've taken Keldrick Folk. They've taken Mike Washington. DB obviously has been a need for them. Dalen Everett being there is interesting, right? Because I'm looking at guys that are bigger corners, right? You don't want to continue to get smaller corners. Dev isn't super big. Matt Warrior's more of a safety, and Amaya Pritchard I think is smaller. I don't know if Tariq Woolen's back or not, but I think you rather get kind of one of those bigger corners, and that would be Dalen Everett here. But I think he kind of does fit into the Seattle mold, so we're gonna go Dalen Everett. So Romello Heights still sitting there. Um, Logan Jones is still a notable name, still sitting there. Um, so we're going to see some of these guys fall. And I don't really fully think I'm going to even have Romello Height going in the first, in the third top 3 rounds. The Vikings, they're once again up. And they've had a pretty solid draft, right? We passed on center last time around, but Logan Jones, kind of the last center until you get to that maybe that 4th round category with Jaeger Burton, and you're maybe talking about Pat Coogan maybe in the 5th round, right? So Logan Jones going here late 3rd round to the Vikings there. We had the Lions. They've gone trenches both times. Mason Mason Thomas and Caden Proctor. I think you could see them possibly look to add to the running back room. They lost David Montgomery. They need to find another running back to kind of take some miles off of Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm really tempted to take Emmett Johnson here. I really am. Katron Allen also would be a really good fit here. Right? I don't know that they would do that. I think they could go linebacker. I could see them liking Deontay Lawson. He's just real good run defense guy. But I'm going to go Deontay Lawson. I kind of wanted to go running back, but I can't talk myself into it. The Steelers, they took Seth McGowan last time around. They have gone Drew Allard, D'Angelo Pons, Blake Miller. They're not having a great draft, but I think they're having a solid draft. I'd probably have graded it like a C at this point, right? But at this spot, once again, you're looking at kind of these range of guys that you're going to reach a little bit on. I really like DJ Campbell, by the way. Not at this spot, but Markel Bell, another guy interesting. Might be able to flip him into guard. He's played some guard, but he's probably too tall to play guard, right? You can't flip a 6'9" dude into guard. I really like Austin Barber, like I said, but another guy that, because they've gotten their tackle here at Blake Miller, right? So they're looking for a guard possibly, and I don't know that there's one available. So I'm gonna kind of retract from going guard, and I'm just gonna take possibly maybe BPA situation for them. Their edges, right, is going to be TJ Watt. Like, this is a really good edge group. You're not going to take Romello Height. Defensive tackles, pretty solid defensive tackle group. You're not going to take anybody there. Safety, you could maybe make a case there. So I think I'm going to go safety. I'm going to go safety here. We're going to take Genesis Smith. Super really interesting prospect. Good athlete. Doesn't necessarily put it all together, but has a lot of the traits to possibly be an interesting player. And the Jaguars taking Josiah Trotter, Grayson Halton, Sam Roosh. And now we'll get to see what they take, right? But they did lose ETN. Running backs are LaQuint Allen, Chris Rodriguez, Bashel. That's not a very inspiring running back group. We're going to take a running back here. We're going to take Emmett Johnson a little bit earlier. Once again, the consensus. But there we have it. There's my 3-round mock draft. Let me know who you want your teams to target. Let me know your team, and let me know kind of let me hear who you want your first 3 picks to be. So if you're a team that's picks at like 20, 100, and then 130, tell me guys kind of in those ranges that you're hoping to make it, and guys that you want to be there. For me, if I had my ideal draft, I want Emmanuel McNeil-Warren at 25. I want Gabe Yakis at 57, and at pick 60. pick 60 is interesting because I could say Jadarian Price. I could say we've already drafted safety. We've already drafted edge. I could say Mike Washington. I could say Jacob Rodriguez. Sam Hex in the group. I don't necessarily know that pick 60 we have a clear and away favorite. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.